Hello and welcome to the Bandwagon Podcast, the show where we take a deep dive into the music industry. I'm your host Charlie Cooper, and my guest this week is Will G. Jones. Will was a singer-songwriter with the band The Gas and has worked with variations of this band for over 2 decades. Today we discuss how it all started, trespassing to meet 2 of Will's musical heroes, and our local music scene here in Crawley. Will, thanks for joining me, mate. How are you?
Yeah, very well. Thanks for having me on, Charlie. It's a pleasure, mate. Looking forward to it.
No, thanks for coming on. It's really great to to have people from the local scene here in Crawley on. I have people from all over, but it's always great to particularly have people local. And one of the reasons I was so keen to have you on is pretty much everyone I've had on so far are people I've either worked with, played on the same bill, known for a while, but I've only got to know you pretty recently. So, this is going to be a real, I stand to learn quite a lot here, so I'm really, really been looking forward to this one.
Yeah, I understand that, mate.
Lovely, cheers. So you've been in the local music scene for, some years with the Gas, and you've been playing everywhere from Brighton to London. How did that band first come together?
How did the Gas first come together? Well, I mean, it started off in its infancy with a friend of mine, Jody, who was the drummer. We'd known each other since we were sort of youngsters. I was looking to start a band and couldn't really find anyone around that was. I was more of a footballer, sportsman, say, than a musician. Mm-hmm. And it was really hard for me to find somebody that was sort of, say, not to be, but on my level of who I was, if you know what I mean.
Sure.
I don't like to be rude to other musicians, but everyone's a bit of a weirdo at the time. Do you know what I mean? From my perspective, I mean, we're all weirdos, aren't we, really? Including
I know what you're saying. There's some eccentrics in the game, mate. There's no denying that.
That's right, yeah. I mean, I've always liked people like that. That was, but so me and Jody met up. Jody was into his sort of heavy rock type stuff, like Korn and things like that, some really heavy stuff, But we managed to get a band together. It was called The Gas. I named it The Gas from a reason. I think there was an early form of the band where we used to use some really old equipment, and it was held together with some gas tape that you use on site, which is like this yellow gas tape, because I'm a plumber, gas engineer by trade. So it was called The Gas. Me and Jody got together. We got a few people in. And we did really well. We played at the Pressure Point down in Brighton, which was originally the Richmond, which I think the Verve had played at, and that was quite exciting for us. We played all around Brighton in the sort of noughties, as they say, and then I don't know how that sort of band fizzled out. Really, I think there was not. Let's go musical differences, as they say. Like I say, Jody was quite hard. There was a guy called Matt Killock, who was an exceptional guitarist. He was more blues, but he was probably far better than sort of any of us. He went on to do a bit more with Danny Giles. I don't know if you know Danny Giles.
Yeah, I know Danny. Not really well, but I know we know who each other are and we're friendly. Yeah.
Yeah, he was a prominent figure around. I mean, he still is. I mean, he was exceptional. And we had a bass player called Dave Kennedy, who was very good as well. Like I say, that band sort of fizzled out, or the way it ended. But before it ended, we'd done a video before videos were a thing. Before YouTube, we did a DVD video, which was like, and we recorded at Stanbridge Studios, which is on the way to Brighton on the left there. I don't know if you've heard of that one.
Yeah, I have heard of that. Is that the one that used to be electric? Or am I thinking of somewhere else?
No, I think it's always been Stanbridge. I mean, you might be right, but it's always been Stanbridge Studios. It was an EMI studio, from what I know. And an EMI, I think EMI used to send bands down there to record and actually use the room. You can sort of stay there in the house and things like that. So that was a big thing for us. And to have a DVD in like 2004 was like, like giving out your DVD was amazing,
Mm.
That was a track called Angel. And then, so then it was sort of time to move on after that. And I floated around for a bit. I just loved doing the music, and I got into a band from Burgess Hill, which were called No White Lines. I went and done a bit of singing for them, sung their tracks, and sung some covers with them. Went out for the first time doing some covers, which I was sort of like always sort of against. Really, I was sort of original music. And then that again, that wasn't quite my type of thing. So I begged my best mate, who's been my best mate since we were 7 years old, Mark Pycroft, begged him to come and play bass for me because he could play a little bass. And yeah, we sort of went on from there. We found Lee, who played drums, who I also went to school with at West Green School when we were like 4 or 5. I met him at a gig. Then later on, found an advert in the paper for somebody who wanted to play drums. Didn't realise it was him, but rung the number. It's like we're going back here when people used to put adverts into the Herald and things,
Yeah, God, I think I was at the tail end of that. I joined a band once from a Friday advert.
Yeah. Sorry,
Yeah.
I think it was the Friday ad. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
I think I must have been one of the last people to ever join a band that way.
Yeah, I was showing my age there with the Herald. But yeah, so then and we went out as a 3-piece for a long time, and we practiced, and I just played. Oh, that was it, because beforehand I was just a singer. I didn't play the guitar. Never really wanted to. Never saw myself as a guitarist, and still don't, to be fair. But I just basically thought, well, let's do this. I can play 3 chords. Let's play 3 chords. Make some songs up. The 3 of us went out. And we went out and we did really well. Well, I'll say we did really well for us, for our what we were like. We went out and we ended up at Dublin Castle, played numerous gigs around Crawley, obviously, a few in Brighton. But yeah, the Dublin Castle at that point was our, that was our glory. It was like amazing. It was like, whoa.
Oh yeah, well, that's up there with the Water Rats and the Astoria and all those sorts of venues, isn't it?
Yeah, indeed. For us, it was like, yeah, man, we're doing it. We're in London, and we had if I remember rightly, we had a review in the in Time Out magazine when we were up there. We were like, yeah, man, this is great, So yeah, that's how the gas came about, and then we sort of reached our limit. I think we were always looking for another guitarist to make us sound. We obviously practiced a lot. We'd done all these gigs. We were getting tighter. We were getting better. But we just needed somebody else to make with a bit of lead guitar or something to make that just that little bit better, And we struggled to find somebody. And then the kids, all of us were having children. And marriages and things, and they need focus, as much as we put a lot of effort into the band. If you really, really want to do something, you got to be all focused. You got to be all heading in the right direction. And I think it was a choice of, did I want to miss out on what my kids were doing, and did I want to miss out on taking them to football or taking them to boxing or doing that because I was out gallivanting, pretending to be a rock star. We sort of just gradually ended it, really. At that point, I mean, you're talking about maybe 2011 there. So we sort of ended that guise of it about 2011. And then I started to get a bit, once that had all gone past, the kids were, done all that, the football, the kids had gone out and done their bit. I'd taken them to football, picked them up from school, enjoyed all that. And then they start growing up and you start thinking, in between that, I managed the football team, which a 11-a-side football team rather than a 6-a-side football team, which gave me the sort of beforehand when I've been in bands. It's I was a bit of a like, you got to do this, you got to do that, blah blah blah. But then when I came to manage, sort of that's so you're looking at 3-4 blokes in a band, and when I came to manage the football team, which there was half youngsters, half men, you're looking at managing sort of 18, 19 with subs. And I realized at that point that you had to sort of be a bit more delicate with people, if that makes sense.
Yeah, not everyone gets the hairdryer treatment, you know. It doesn't
Yeah,
work on
exactly. Some
everyone.
people need an arm around them. You've got to be able to do this. You've got to do that. So after I'd done that with the football team, I thought, right, do you know what? I think I want to have another go at doing the band again. You know, there's still something left in me. And that's where sort of we started again. Really, we sort of just. I think we had a couple of false starts again. Sort of let's all get back together, and you sort of get back together, and you're like, and then we sort of things. So then we came across Steve. Now this is I was sitting in my front room, listening, watching Saturdays, Soccer Saturday or whatever, and I'm playing my guitar, playing some new tunes, and the back door was open, and I live in Tilgate near Furnace Green sort of area, near the woods, and I'm playing this new song of mine, and in my head I can hear this lead. There's something going over the top of the song, and I'm thinking that sounds really good. And I thought it was in my head, and it wasn't. There was a guy walking alongside of my house playing the guitar.
No way. That's
I promise you, right? So I don't know, it's crazy. So I jumped over my fence with my head over the fence, and I saw him, and he's walking along playing the guitar, and I'm thinking, man, that's the sound I want, you know. So and then I sort of half shouted. I thought, nah, the geezer's gonna think I'm weird, man. I can't be going to grab him.
I mean, he's the one walking down the road playing the guitar, mate.
Yeah. Pardon, sorry.
He's the one walking down the road playing the guitar. If one of you's
he
weird,
was on the field. To be fair, it was on the field, and he was barefooted. So you know.
Yeah, in that situation, I don't think you've got to worry too much.
Yeah. So I ummed and ahed, and sort of as he was just going into the distance, I shouted him out, and he turned around, and we sat on the field, and we jammed out for a couple of hours, and then got him involved, and he's fantastic. Steve, his name is, and Steve Pinkerton, and he'd been to BIM and done a bit, and was quite intelligent on the guitar, intelligent guy as well, and we got him involved, and gradually we sort of started to get a little bit better, and then he disappeared again. Something happened. I think that he had some problems, and he sort of disappeared, and I couldn't get hold of him. And I sort of thought, oh no, man, I've really upset because I'm quite bolshy, and you know, I like to drink, and I can be a bit, you know, bit laddie and that. And I thought maybe I've gone a bit over the top on him, but it turns out he was just having some problems. But in between that, I got a friend of mine called Ricky Lace, who's now in a band called Costa D and the Fortune Tellers, who are doing very well. They're fantastic.
That's a cool name.
Yeah, it is a very good name. They're an alternative band. They're an eclectic taste, but once you're into them, man, they're fantastic. The original. I'm not too keen on their on their covers side of things, but people seem to enjoy that. But their original stuff, Costa's original stuff and writing it's very very original. It's something that you've sort of not really heard before. It's like a surf rock, you know, which is great. But Rick, going back there, Rick was in my band, and this is sort of during the pandemic, and Rick had done a bit of a lead over a song we'd done called Look What the Cat Dragged In. And I'd got in touch with a guy called Silky, who is the lead singer and entrepreneur and mastermind behind a band called Death of Guitar
Yeah,
Pop.
one of my favourite bands, mate.
Really?
Yeah, I'm a huge fan.
Oh
Huge
man,
fan.
you
I
know
was
they've
I
got
was trying to get tickets to the Shepherd's Bush gig last minute because I thought
oh
I didn't
mate,
book them because I thought I had a gig that night and it got cancelled.
mate, you should
Um,
have said something. I reckon I might have been able to swing something. I say,
I wish I'd said. I didn't realise that
mate, I
you were
probably would have
connected
gone
to
with
him.
you. I'm like that, but yeah, oh, fantastic. So, um, Silky, we got in for, so we were due to go up. We had a few Zoom chats with Silky, and I explained to Silky that the situation we were in, we weren't, because what happened was we recorded a little demo and we did it on we put it out as a CD that looked like a record. So it was a CD, but it looked like vinyl.
Sure.
And when he sort of rung me, he assumed that we'd done a vinyl track. So I sort of pulled the wool over his eyes there a little bit, but he forgave me. But so we got involved with him and we were ready to go up to record with him. And I sort of like explained to him, look, we're a bit of a ragtag band. We just want to do a video. We want to do this. We're not looking to go out on tour. We're not this, you know, we know what level you're at and we know what level we're at. But he was willing to help us. He was willing to get involved. And obviously we paid for the services and everything, but he was willing to help us. Now, I think a week before 2 weeks before we were meant to go up there, Rick, the guitarist, had an issue that I won't go into. And he couldn't do it. And I sort of said to him, look, you either can or can't, sort of thing. And he couldn't. So I got in touch with Steve, the guitarist, and he was more than willing and able to help. He was back to his best, back in the right frame of mind. And he came up, he learnt the lead, came up with us, and yeah, the rest is history. He was in, and we went on to carry on as we were doing now, you know. So no, it was great.
That's
Brilliant.
fantastic.
That's how that happened. But yeah, so let me turn the tables on you a little bit. So when did you first get into Death of Guitar Pop?
Oh, probably about 2, 3 years ago when Scar as the Bollocks came out. They're really good at Facebook promotion. And I
Yeah.
know that's something that Silky helps bands with, and you know,
Yes.
like you say, from an entrepreneurial point of view as well.
Yes.
You know, funnily enough, actually, day before yesterday, I sent out a contact form to him. Funnily enough, on his website, Hookins Management. So yeah, I saw this advert. I saw it as a Scar band. And I was like,
Yep.
oh, brilliant. Right. I've always been a huge Specials fan and
Yep.
Bad Manners, Toots, even like the old original Wailers stuff.
Yep.
Before they went from ska to reggae. Yeah, I was like, oh, this is fantastic. And then the next video I think was Ricky Old Train. And I was
Yeah,
like, oh, I'm
man.
in. I'm
What?
in. That
Yeah.
was one of my first. I put that up there as good as anything the Specials ever wrote.
Oh, without a doubt. But the video, that's what drew me in was that
It's a
was both.
hilarious video as well.
Yeah, that was the video. It was the first thing I said to him. I said, "Man, that's class. The way it was done. Yeah, it was." But I mean,
Just all around
listen.
Romford, isn't it? Like,
Yes,
yeah, it's just so
yeah.
funny.
They're Essex boys, aren't they? We went up.
Yeah,
Also on that was he's involved with the Milk, Mitch
yeah, another
from
band
Milk.
I love.
Yeah, oh, right.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
yeah,
So Mitch played. So the two tracks that we did were "Look What the Cat Dragged In" and "Low Life," and both Silky does the backing vocals, and Mitch plays the keyboard on both them
oh,
tracks.
quality.
Yeah. So it was a good time, and we, like I say, we're not very close friends, and we're maybe, you know, classed as associates business
Sure.
wise, but they were great. Let me tell you now, they're both fantastic. But he does what he says on the tin, mate. I can promise you that now.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that he feels that there's something that we can do together, and if not, you know, that's absolutely fine. But yeah, I did fill out a contact form, and I suppose I'll wait and see, won't I?
Yeah, I know.
But
Listen,
yeah.
I might be able to the old slippery, but you know, I might be able to help you out there a little bit, possibly. Like I say,
Lovely.
we're not the best of friends, but yeah, I know he gets very, very busy as well. He gets inundated.
I'm sure. I'm sure he does.
inundated, mate,
Well,
and
that's
he's
kind of why I was sort of not waiting with bated breath, because I thought to myself, this is going to go into a pile of people who want to work with him. So we'll
Well,
see.
this is where we didn't realize at the time. You see, we were just because I'm like, I was quite new to the internet when we got the band back together this final time. I was very new to it. I hadn't had any social media accounts. I'd never been on the. I've been on the internet because I love a bet, so I know how to work the Coral account. Yeah, but yeah, so we sort of but the Zoom chat, we he gave us the Zoom chats and we chatted for a while, and he was great. I don't
Yeah,
fantastic. So
that's
we'll have
fantastic.
to we'll have to discuss that another time.
Yeah, we'll talk about that off air. Lovely, mate.
Yeah,
Thanks.
man.
Yeah. I want to ask a question about you said Steve there. Did you say Steve Pinnington?
Yes.
Yeah, from Tilgate, I know Steve.
Okay, cool,
So we
man.
went to primary school together.
Oh, wicked,
He was
mate.
a year below me at primary school, and he's such a nice lad,
Oh,
and
he's lovely.
he's great guitarist as well. And I'll never forget. I moved away when I was about 11. We moved to Crawley Down, and I went to secondary school in East Grinstead. But I'm
Yeah.
originally from Tilgate, from Shackleton
Yeah.
Road, so that's how I knew Steve. We lived on the
Which
same
road,
road.
sorry?
Shackleton Road.
Oh, yeah. Oh, so
Yeah.
it's same road.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same road. That's how we knew each other. We was a year below me at school. We knew each other at school, and we'd walk home together and play out and go out each other's houses and play PlayStation, all that sort of stuff you do when you're a
Yep.
kid. And then when I moved away, we lost contact, and that was that. Just thought, one of them people from primary school I'll probably never see again. Just that's that.
Yeah.
And I was in the common room at BIM, got just chatting with this lad who was on the guitar course, so I was on the singing course.
Yep.
And we just got chatting and that. And I was like, oh, where are you from? Oh, Crawley. I went, oh, me too. But whereabouts? I went, oh, well, originally Tilgate, but I live in Crawley Down now. And he looked at me, he was like, yeah, me too. I'm from Tilgate. I went, hang on, where? He went, Shackleton Road. I was like, what, Steve? And he just looked at me and he was like, fuck off. And that just gave me a hug.
He looks like he does that to everyone. I think this is the guy on the field that just appeared.
That makes total sense now that you said that.
Yeah, that's it. Great. Oh, that's
Yeah, he's a
fantastic.
great guy. His brother, Mark's a nice fella as well.
That's right. Yeah, I've met Mark a couple of times. He's been round. Yeah, he's a cool guy.
Yeah, nice people. No, that's funny. It's people. Someone once said to me, a mate, I said, Crawley isn't a small town; it's a big village.
That's it, mate. Yeah, people say to me, it's a small world. I said, no, it's a small town.
Yeah, definitely. That's mad. That's mad. I mean, what's you mentioned there over stuff with working with Silky and Mitch, and which is incredible. I mean, when you look at that sort of thing and the videos you've done with them. You
Yeah.
look at the stuff you've done in the past, Dublin Castle, Concord 2, that kind of thing. You've recently played the Horth again with Slow Time Mondays, who I had on the other week, and Mainly Madness, are a band I've seen and been support for a couple of times myself over the years. What do you see? What's sort of like the next thing for you? I mean, when we spoke the other day, you said you're having a little bit of a break, but what do you see as being the next thing for you guys?
I've mentioned to you for us guys. I'm not really too sure. We're in a hiatus at the moment where we're it's all still there. Possibly, I'm getting on a bit. I don't want to sound laboured, but I'm nearly 50 now. I don't feel the same as I used to. I used to want to. I feel I don't need the validation anymore as such. I used to want, I used to go to every open mic. I would, even when I wasn't in bands, I would put on bands. There was a great band I used to put on called Somebody's Mind, that nobody really knows of, but they were fantastic, psychedelic 3-piece.
Cool.
I would go to London just on my own to see them, and I would turn up at sort of like 6 o'clock for their sound check and things. I was that guy. I wanted to be. It was like I was climbing a mountain, and as I've got to this point, I've sort of, although I haven't reached the highest of the highs, obviously, like we spoke about, So Time Miners, I think they're doing fantastic. I mean, their festivals and everything. It was that was something that I really wanted to do, but I just don't feel that that's what I need anymore as such. I feel like I've achieved what I've set out to achieve as such, and I don't really know. I've got to be honest with you. I don't really know. Although I do have a few plans in the pipework, as I
Yeah,
say.
is it a case of if it's something you think, you know what, I really want to do that, you'll do it rather than feeling like you have to do it?
Yeah, yeah. It's got to be worthwhile, and it's got to be
Yeah.
something that's going to give me that kick. And it's, as I found out, and I think many people will probably say this over the years, and it's an old philosophy, and it's a true philosophy. It is the journey that's the good thing. It's not the getting there.
Oh yeah, definitely, absolutely. It's what happens in the way, and the thing is with that as well. I've always found you never know what else is going to happen that you never would have expected along the way that might actually be even better than what you set out to do in the first place.
Exactly. I mean, I have thought, I have considered wanting to manage a band as such in some sort of form,
Yeah.
but the trouble with that, I find, is that I, I don't feel that there's some people that say they want to do things, especially youngsters, that don't actually want to do it. I mean, it's a lot of hard work. It's a lifestyle as far as I'm concerned. You've got to plow everything into it, and
Yeah.
I could end up, say, managing a young band for two. Say you got hold of a 16, 17-year-old youngster band, for example, and I could plow, say, 4 years of my life into them, or two, into helping them, encouraging them, organizing, doing this, and they get to 20 and be like, I don't want to do this anymore.
It's a tricky one, isn't it? I don't know what you do there. I don't know if you start with a band who are in their mid-20s who are already doing well but just want a bit of help, or what you
Yeah,
do. But I get that because I mean, as you know, I'm a music teacher. That's
yes,
I'm sort of music teacher and live performer, and one supplements the other kind of
yes, yes,
thing. um, which is mad because that's pretty much exactly what my guitar teacher Stuart, who I done a few weeks ago,
yep,
exactly the same setup that he does, which is amazing. Like as far as I'm concerned, it's the best job in the world. And I teach kids who love what they love is the idea of doing it.
yes,
They love the idea of being able to do it, and then they get, say, 6 months in, even a year in sometimes, and think, do you know what? I'm actually, the fact I've got to practice this for 20 minutes, half hour, an hour, whatever, every day, and put that work in when I could be sat on my PlayStation.
yeah,
I don't want to do it anymore, and that is a thing. That's definitely a part of it, and I think it's the same in a lot of ways with bands. Everyone wants to go. Oh, I want to play an introducing tent at Glastonbury. Okay,
yeah,
how? What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do to get yourself there?
yeah,
Are you
definitely.
gonna
And
are you gonna drive up to? Are you gonna jump into a hatchback with all your gear crammed into it? The bass player sitting on the drummer's lap, so you can get the Camden to play a gig midweek. You can do that.
yeah,
Oh no, I don't fancy doing that. Okay,
well, what
how are you gonna play
what
Glastonbury then?
while you're on the subject of how you're going to play Glastonbury, there was me and Jody, when we were back in the first form of the Gas. When we'd done this DVD we did, which is called Angel, we said to each other, right, what we'll do is we will drive down to Glastonbury. We will go and knock on Michael Eavis's door, and we will give him this CD.
Yeah,
So he had an old a Mondeo, Ford Mondeo, and he picked me up in the morning, from Northgate Shops. I used to live above Northgate Shops, which was like a pyramid. I was like the pyramid in my flat was the pyramid in between the two music shops.
yeah, yeah. No, that's where I bought my first guitar in the music company. No, North Face Shops
Yeah,
very well.
didn't everyone from Crawley?
Oh
So
yeah,
he
yeah. Well,
he
Bedrock.
yeah. Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, Bedrock
Yeah,
was there, wasn't it? Yeah. Well, that's where Danny Giles was. That's where Danny Giles was ploughing his trade at the time.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So he Jody picked me up and we were ready to go. And we walked in, we went to the newsagents and picked out the newspaper. We picked up the Sun newspaper, got into the car, ready to go to drive to Michael Eavis's house. Do you know what I mean? This is how mad it is. And we opened up the newspaper. And as we opened up the Sun, I'm reading in the Bizarre column. I don't know if you remember Bizarre. It was like the middle section of like all the stuff and that was going on. There was a picture and a little thing that Noel Gallagher was in trouble for walking back from this studio down some train tracks. And it was all like a big thing. I shouldn't be walking down these train tracks. But they gave the address of the studio underneath the photograph.
I was going to come on to this, so I'm glad you're bringing this up.
Oh, you've mentioned it. And so I said to Jodie, I said, well, look, Jodie, is after we've been to Glastonbury, I mean, this is mad shit. So after we've been to Glastonbury, it's only 2 hours down the road. Let's crack on and we'll go and see Oasis. And he was like, yeah, man. So we went to Glastonbury. We ended up going to Michael Eavis's house and handed in the CD. And we didn't meet Michael Eavis. I can't remember who we gave it to, but I mean, I've been to Glastonbury a couple of times. I sort of knew where the house was. And then we drove on. Oh, sorry, we drove on into the town of Glastonbury and entered into some crappy competition that you're meant to enter to go and play Glastonbury, blah, blah, blah. And then we followed on down to Gavant in Cornwall to go and track down Oasis. So we got down to Cornwall 2 hours later, and we were like reading a map. You know, when the old Matt, he's driving in this Ford Mondeo, I'm reading the map, and we got to a crossroads, and it said road closed, but that's where we were meant to go. And I said to Jodie, I said, just drive down there, man, just drive. So we drove down. We were in these like weird winding sort of roads. If you can imagine, sort of like East Grinstead type, West Hoveley type.
Yeah,
roads,
yeah, Forest Row, all that area.
Yeah, that's that sort of thing. So we're driving down, and we got a little bit lost, and we pulled up to this house, and there was an old guy outside his house. Now, I might be just making this bit up, but I'm sure that he had cider bottles hanging from the tree.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of them things that's so stereotypical of that area. It probably is true. You know?
Yeah, I'm sure he did. And he was sort of talking to himself. Anyway, so we pulled up into his driveway, and we said to him, and before we even said anything, he went, oh, he said, are you looking for, I can't do the accent. He said, are you looking for the band? And we went, yeah. And he directed us down to this little fishing village. And I mean, my family's from North Wales, so it was very, very North Wales-esque, but very small. It was just this, like, I don't know what it was, and there was like 4 cars parked up and this like thing. So but it was nighttime, and we got out the car, and I remember I had a sort of blue plastic bag, like about 8 cans of lager in there, and I had a like Liam hat on and a Parker on, and Jodie had this sort of big jacket on. And we said, well, what are we going to do then? And it was like, I don't know. So we said, well, there's the train tracks. We found the train tracks. So I said, well, let's walk along them. So we started to walk along the train tracks. Now, either side of us on these train tracks was water. So we're like, if a train comes, we're like pretty done in, you know. And then we see this little red light on a post. I said to Joe, look, what's that little red light? So we went over, and there was a little gate. So we started to follow it, and there was more just these little dot red lights. So we followed them round, and we were sort of like on this embankment, and then we just ended up at this house, man, like, which was Sawmill Studios. And we were like, okay. So we knocked on the door, just you know, like we took going around a mate's house. So we knocked on the door, and this Chinese fella come to the door, and we went, hello, and he went, hello, and we said, we come here to see Oasis. And he freaked out, man. The geezer just sort of nearly lost his shit. It was like, what's going on here? There was a few sort of scuttling around the house, and a phone call obviously made. And then out of nowhere, there's these steps going down, which I now know to be the studio. And Liam comes bounding up with a guitar in his hand. He stands on the doorstep of the house and sort of almost protecting he didn't know. Do you know what I mean? They didn't know. We could have been anyone. And he stands there.
The press set him up with their old man turning up and that around that time, didn't they? So they're probably extra cautious.
Well, I mean, with their extra cautious, they're the big rock stars. It could be anyone, you know?
Yeah.
So he stood on the doorstep and sort of towered above us, and he's like, what's you two's doing here? And we were like, well, look, we come down to see you, Liam. You know what I mean? He goes, what for? We goes, we'll come down for a chat. He's like, go on and chat. I went, well, you know, I said, look, and I had a CD in my pocket, like this old demo that I brought down with me. So I gave him the demo. I said, look, we come down, you know, and he was like, all right, man, fucking, he was all good. And then he sort of chilled a little bit. Now, then I said to him, look, any chance of coming down to the studio? And he was like, you know, and then for the life of me, I don't know why I said this, but this is where it turned a tiny bit sour. I said to him, is there any chance of seeing Noel? And that's when he sort of went a bit like, oh, you haven't come to see me. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Because he's never been known for having an ego, has he?
No, it's very unlike him. Yeah, but we saw it firsthand. I see him switch, man. So he says to me, he said, no, you can't. I was like, oh, come on, Liam, you know what I mean? Blah, blah, blah. You've let other people in the past and all this. He's like, no. I said, right, okay. I said, well, what can you do for us? And he went, and then obviously they're trying to get rid of us at the same time. He said, right. He said, oh, that's it. He goes, how did you twos get down here? And we went, well, we come down the train tracks. He went, used to are fucking mad. And we were like, yeah, man. I know. So he says, right. He says, go back along the train tracks. He said, go into up the hill or whatever, and there's a pub. He said, go into the pub. And he said, we might be coming down there after rehearsal. He said, that's all I can do for you. I was like, okay, do you know what I mean? Fair play. Do you know what I mean? So we've gone back along the train tracks, gone down into this pub. We've gone into the pub, and it was like people on the phone. Everyone was going a bit crazy. And we was like, so we sat in the corner. I got a couple of brandies in, and there was a pub quiz started, right? So we started playing the pub quiz. And we're sitting in this pub, and these people had come in, like a few people or whatever. And I sort of got the impression they were from the studio. So after the pub quiz had finished, we didn't win, by the way. I don't know where we came. I walked over. This is a good bit. I walked over to the table after a few brandies, and I went all like, I don't know what I went into, but I went over and I said, right, who's in charge? And it was like a film. This bloke, this bloke went, he put his hand up, a bit shaky. He went, I'm in charge. And I looked him in the eyes. I went, you're not in charge. And I looked round, and this woman went, no, I'm in charge. I went, all right, okay, look, I said, we're not here for any trouble. I said, but we've come a long, long way. I said, we've come a long way from Crawley. I said, I'm not leaving here until I've seen Noel Gallagher. And she went, right. She said, I'll tell you this now. She said, do you know where your car's parked? And we said, yes. And she said, right, go and wait in your car. And she said, about 2 a.m, Noel will be coming back along the train tracks, and you will be able to see him then. And I was like, thank you. Brilliant. So we got back to the car. We still had a few beers on us, and we're sitting in the car, and I've got a joint on the go or whatever, and I'm having a few beers. I've reclined the seat back, and Jody has gone put the back seats of the Mondeo down, and he's got into the back seats and laying down as though, like as a bed. Now, I remember listening to the Verve was on, and we sort of drifted off. And it must have been about 2 a.m. And then there was a knock at the window, and it was a bit icy or steamed up. So I've sort of I've pulled the chair up and put my hand and give it a little wipe the dew off or whatever. And there's Noel with his face in the window with his umbrella, and he's with Gem, right? So I've got out the car. I'm like that, and I've opened the car door, got out. I was like, hello, and he's like, all right. He goes, what are you doing here? I said, didn't they tell you we was here? Like, he's like, no. I was like, and I went, oh, goes, it was Gem, yeah. But I went, who's this, Bonehead? And he laughed, so he sort of broke the ice. But then what happened was Jody, who was in the back of the Ford Mondeo. Now Jody had a big black trench coat on. And Jody got out the back of the Ford Mondeo on the other side in this big black trench coat. And Jody's quite a big guy. And oh my God, it was like a Mexican standoff. Noel's going, what's going on? I'm going, no, no, no. He's going, what's going on? Everyone's freaking out. I'm going, no, it's all right. It's my drummer. It's my drummer. He's not going to shoot you, man. He's not going to shoot you. It's like everything calmed down and we had a good chat and we stood there and had a really good chat with him for a good while. Then at that point, and only at that point, did I realize that we was very much on the verge of fucking stalking, man. And I sort of said my thank yous and counted my blessings. And we let him go on his merry way. And but then I remember running after him because I'd forgot to give him a CD. So I remember running up the hill after him to give him this DVD CD that we'd done. And I never forget giving it to him and shaking his hand. And he was sort of like, he had a timid shake, but he smelt rich. Does that make sense? he smelt rich. You know what I mean? He said, I said, thank you and for your time and sorry to bother you. And we had a little sleep in the car and we disappeared in the morning.
What a story. That's incredible.
It was, yeah. It goes down. It goes down. Jody likes that one, and he'll probably like listening to it back as.
Oh, I'll bet.
Yeah.
Oh, that's incredible. I mean, that's the sort of thing. Kind of brings me on to my next point. You just, even if you tried, you couldn't do anymore. You just can't. The closest I ever got to anything like that is when Johnny Marr came back with his first solo album. I turned up at the Concord early. Yeah, took the scratch plate off my old Rickenbacker. I haven't got the Rickenbacker anymore. It's still got the scratch plate and got a Sharpie. And I recognised there was a woman stood by the tour bus around the side of the Concord, and I recognised it was his wife Angie, just from a picture I'd seen in Q or NME or something like that. And I just said to her, "Look, if I leave this with you, is there any chance that Johnny could sign it? I'll pick it up from the ticket office after." And she went, no, don't do that. And she went and got him and brought him out.
Oh, wicked,
mate. And he was lovely. He was, I've got to say, they say don't meet your heroes. That'll be one of my, I remember that on my deathbed. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely, mate. But that's, that's so good, mate.
Man, as well. And an absolute hero of mine.
Brilliant.
Yeah, that's the closest I've got to that. But all I had to do was drive to Brighton.
Yeah, but it's so nice when you realise that they've done that. You know what I mean? Because they don't have to do that sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? I know it's their job and whatever, but yeah, that's brilliant, man.
No, it's great. I've also met some people through BIM and from working at the airport who haven't been very nice without naming any names. You know?
Yeah. And, I mean, there's a few of them about.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you get a story like that, where like the one you've just told is incredible. I don't think there's much beating that, But that or what I just said then, and I've been lucky enough to meet quite a few people. Roger Daltrey, for example, as well was incredible.
Yeah.
It kind of gives you a bit more of a it gives you a bit of inspiration because it closes the gap. Do you know what I mean? It sort of takes these people off the pedestal a bit, and you're like, wow, they're just a person, and it gives you a bit more of okay, maybe this is something I can do.
But agreed. But I think that does come a lot from, not to get too deep, but I think that does come a lot from that sort of Manchester indie scene. They were quite normal guys at the time. They're not.
Yeah.
They were all like us at one point, rather than being like nowadays where you've got this sort of conveyor belt of just, I don't know what they're doing, through X Factor and all the this I don't know, everyone's too media trained now, everybody's too perfect, whereas back in that time, there was that it's a bit like the football, really. When back in the day where footballers used to go out and have a drink with everybody, there was plenty of times when we was in nightclubs and there was always footballers in there.
Yeah, I mean the amount of stories I've heard about. Oh bloody hell! I can't remember the name of the club. A club in Romford where like the entire West Ham squad used to go every weekend and then go and play on a Saturday morning.
Yeah, that's it.
I can't remember the name of it now, but
not Cinderella's.
A few of my mates used to drink in there.
Not Cinderella's.
No, not Cinderella's. It's gone. It's gone. It will come to me after I finish recording this. I'll text you. But
I do
like
know the
things
one
on
you
like you go
mean.
in there like Jimmy Walker would be in there or whatever, or like like Joe Cole and like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
absolute madness back in the '90s. And I've said to you before, I work quite a lot with ex players, and they are all similar, like you say, really down to earth, working class guys. They didn't have the media training or the celebrity status that they do now.
That's exactly it. Yeah, that's exactly it. Those
It's
men
a
are the
completely
people.
different
That
ballgame.
was the game. Funny enough, Joe. The one thing I do know, Joe, about Joe Cole, having been around at that time, was that he got signed on the basis that his mum got a new fridge freezer.
Yes, I did know that.
You
Yeah, that's
know that
incredible.
one.
Yeah, I did know that one. Yeah, yeah. Through like I say, through the lads who I don't
Yeah,
know if you back and listened a
that's
couple of
it.
weeks ago. I had a guy called Dave Walker on,
Okay.
and he is but the co-host and one of the founders of the West Ham Way, which is a West Ham fan group,
Oh, brilliant.
who have podcasts and stuff. They do these live events, and
Yep.
that's where I work with them.
Oh,
I
cool.
do live
Nice.
music at the events, and
Nice.
the other guy who works with him, calls him ex West Ham employee.
Yep.
He's got basically, if you ever see transfer news on Sky about West Ham, they've got it off of him
Yeah.
essentially.
All right. He's the man.
He's got so many contacts, and yeah, he's tells some great stories on this podcast like that. So yeah, I mean, we digress. And what you said there has kind of brought me on to next point. What you said about kind of the differences between what it was like then and what it's like now. You played one of your first gigs at the Hawth in Crawley, which is a community theatre we got in Crawley. It's incredible. Has
Yes.
all sorts of like really big stand-up comedians. I saw Ricky Gervais there a few months ago,
Yeah.
and all the way to more local projects. And you said you played your first gig there, or one of them at least,
No,
nearly
yeah,
25 years ago.
it was our first gig. What
Was your first one, and you played there again very recently. So in that 25 years, what are the biggest changes you've seen?
so what happened was the first guys I was telling the guys about the first guys of the gas. Before then, we were in our first ever band was called Life, and we used to rehearse in the flat above Northgate Shops. Much to the disapproval of I don't know if you know Nobby. Do you know Nobby at all in Flares?
Yeah, yeah, I do.
Yeah, he was a neighbour of ours, and we used to rehearse in the flat, and he was he was a bit annoyed one time at us, but I'm sure he's forgiven us now. But I think we'd only rehearsed about 6 times, and we went down to the Greenkeepers, which is Southgate playing fields. I can't remember, Emerald Club now, and it was an open mic. We did a 3-4 song set, and there was a guy down there called Chris Mullins, who's I believe was a counsellor at the time. I don't know if he's still involved and such, but he'd seen us, and I think he'd had a couple of beers, but he watched us, and they were setting up at the time a Save the Crawley Hospital. It's how long ago it was.
Mate, they want to do it again.
Yeah, I'd save any hospital.
Yeah.
But there was a Save Crawley Hospital gig, and they don't obviously got loads of people involved, but they needed something, and they sort of saw us as some sort of boy band as such, I think, or young people. So they needed something like that. And we come off stage, and he said to us, do you want to play at the Hawth? And we just went, yeah, okay, no problem. And we opened up again. If they didn't take all the seats out and everything like they did last time, but it was an 800. It was full. It was full. 800 people, man. And we went out and opened up for our first gig at the Hawth. I think we only did 4 or maybe 5 songs, but yeah, that was our first ever gig. And then, like you just said, that we came back 25 years later and opened up for the Slow Time Mondays and Mainly Madness, which was fantastic. They took the seats out. The guys that organised it is D&D Promotions, and I think their son, I can't remember, Daniel, his name is. He's been doing the sound. I think he did the sound for Liam Gallagher when he came out of university. Due to the pandemic having not many people that were working at the time, they got the youngsters in to do the sound, so he ended up doing that. So he's going through the motions of doing all this. So they set up that gig not only for the Slow Time Mondays and Mainly Madness, and obviously to sort of try and make a few quid and get themselves on the map. But to let Daniel have his free reign at doing the lighting and the sound. So they took all the seats out. We watched them do it. It was fantastic. And the night itself, it was like being at like the Astoria or something. It was like, they say Crawley doesn't have a music venue, but it was like, say, like being at the Astoria, anywhere in London, any of them big venues in London. It was.
I've always said the Wharf could be Crawley's music venue.
Without a doubt. And the people, I expected the people, I do a bit of plumbing, so I do the plumbing in the Wharf, and I did expect it to be a bit, what's the word? I don't know, not regimented, but I did expect it to be a bit sort of mediocre-ish. But the guys that put it on were fantastic, and the people that were running the Wharf let it be, let people, have a drink, maybe have a just wander around, be free. There wasn't anyone. There was a couple of security guards, but no one was saying, "Oh, you can't do this, you can't do that." Do you know what I mean? Because some places can be a little bit like, oh, stop enjoying yourself, especially these days. I mean, you go to a pub, you can't really have more than 3 drinks before they throw you out for laughing. It
depends on the pub. The White Hart, you're all right.
Yeah, no, you're right there. Yeah, she's sound.
Yeah, Tanya's amazing. John's great
brilliant.
too. Yeah.
Oh, have you seen her new room in there?
Yeah, I've played in it.
Oh, is that where you played Sunday?
No, it's not. I played in the main pub Sunday, but I have played in that bar, and it's beautiful.
Oh, it's absolutely lovely, mate. Brilliant. Yeah. Really done a fantastic job there. I mean, coming on to that, just to say that the whole of Sussex, the whole of everywhere, there seems to be live music. This wasn't like this in my day, as we say. There was bits and pieces, but it seems to be, since this pandemic, everybody's come back. There is live music in any guise everywhere.
It's definitely gotten better because it died a death just before the pandemic. I was saying the 3 years leading up to it, and it's definitely got better.
Mate, it's everywhere. There's everything you can. I can't believe it. It's a dream come true for me. I think back in my day when I first started going out, I was quite acoustically driven. So if I wanted to go to an open mic, let's say, like at the Swan or the Apple Tree, the bands that were still going then, that were doing the open mics, were like left over from the 70s, like biker leather jacket styles, like quite a heavy sort of rock, I'd say, or like bluesy heavy rock, which didn't really fit my style, getting back into that sort of sporty Oasis type thing that I was rather, so if I got up to play acoustic, it sort of almost, it was like they put you in. No one was really bothered. You know what I mean? It's like they're waiting for the rockers, and But now, if now's the time. If you're a youngster out there, or if you're somebody who's learning the guitar and wants to get out and do an open mic, there's a guy called Ian Ridgely in Horsham that on the radio that puts on little bits and pieces everywhere, all these little, like the Coot, it's just fantastic. I could go on. There's so many that I couldn't name them all, put it that way. So it's really good.
Yeah, no, there are a lot, and you've got like Paul Stammer, one. I did one last week.
That guy's everywhere.
I've got good mates with Paul.
Yeah, he's a nice guy. Nice guy.
I'm hoping to get him on the show at some point.
Yeah,
soon,
do you know what? His oratory skills. He's the only person I've ever seen on a stage with a guitar that I allow to sort of tell jokes or anything. I'm not a big joke. If you're there to play music, play your music and get off.
Yeah, he's very funny.
He's very good
funny.
at it.
I played one of his open mics a couple of months ago because I was trying to get a gig in the pub that he was doing it in. And he was like, "Oh, I'm going to play a couple of songs to open up. I'll try and play ones that people aren't going to play.
Yeah,
that I'm going to want to play for the open mic." So he's obviously not going to do like "Don't Look Back in Anger."
Yeah, yeah.
So he did some Gaslight Anthem B-side.
Yeah,
and when he finished it from the back of the pub, I've gone, I was going to play that one, and I just heard back, "Fuck off."
Yeah, no, he's like I say, his oratory skills are second to none. He gauges the crowd, and he's funny enough. I've got a friend who's banging to the Gaslight Anthem, so I know a little bit about them. So
Yeah, I don't know a huge amount, but I just know he told me what it was after. But
Oh,
yeah,
sorry, you're not. Are you a fan of them guys? Or?
I don't know a lot about him, to be honest,
Right.
mate. So I can't say one way or the other,
No, no.
to be honest. But that's another band that I need to sort of check out. So I've just you get a band sometimes for no particular reason, they just sort of pass you by.
Yeah, there's someone mentioned, one of my friends mentioned to me yesterday that they went out at the weekend and had they all went back to someone's house and they were listening to DC Fontaines. Now I
Yeah,
don't,
yeah.
you know them guys? Do you know?
Fontaine's DC. Yeah, yeah.
Do you know what are they? They've sort of passed. I don't know what they're about. Do you?
Yeah, I saw them once at a festival, but to be honest, the sound was all off, so I couldn't really give you an honest
Yeah,
opinion of what
yeah.
they were like. But I've heard they're incredible.
That's a bit like when I've seen I've seen the Foo Fighters a couple of times at festivals, and I've been a bit like, really? But
Yeah, I'll be honest. I'm not a huge fan of festivals because I always feel like you've got a load of bands not playing their full set, not playing to their best tech spec that they could have, and you've got to sit through a load of bands in the rain that you don't really want to watch. I'd rather just go and watch the bands I want to see at full on gigs.
yeah, yeah. Or
That's just my opinion.
yeah.
I know
Well,
people love
I'm at the age
festivals
where I'd rather
and...
sit home and watch them on YouTube.
Oh, that's one. Right. Well, so the last thing I wanted to ask you, and we touched on it a bit, but this
Yep.
this is pretty much the last question for you. Over that 25-year period between your first gig at the Horth and your most recent gig at the Horth, what is what are the biggest changes you've seen?
Biggest changes I've seen again a little bit like we touched on. It's just the way that the music is that the people are putting on gigs now in these pubs is it's just it blows me away, man. It blows me away. I'll tell you another thing that's changed is people are moving into these podcasts.
Yeah, massively, massively.
Yeah, we've I don't know if I've mentioned it before, but we're I think when you asked me earlier as well, what road I'll be going down next, I've been entering into the world of podcasting, shall I say. I'm trying to produce something for my friend Clive at the moment, which is called Behind the Scenes Britain.
Yeah,
So I'll be tapping you up for a few things and to see what road to go down. We've got a theme tune at the moment, and we're doing all right. We've done a few practice runs. We started off well. We've gone a bit backward at the moment, but I think another big change, getting back to your original question, is social media. Beforehand, if you were trying to get yourself out there, even to the point of if you were trying to learn a song, you had to find somebody who either knew that song or you had to find that specific music book that gave you the chords. And to get yourself, whereas now with social media, man, it's all yours. You want to do it, you can do it, man, at the touch of a button, which is
yeah,
I think that's fantastic. I really do. I think that's given everybody a voice. As much as they're trying to take the voice away of the other voice away, the music voice is loud and clear on social media, I feel. So yeah, that's the biggest change.
Nice.
Biggest change.
It's brilliant, amazing. Will, thank you so much for joining me. This has been fantastic.
Nah, brilliant, mate.
I'm really looking forward to seeing you for a pint soon and discussing some other future projects.
Definitely.
And yeah, thanks again, buddy.
No, thank you very much. Hope to see you soon.
See you soon, mate. Cheers.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
You've been listening to the Bandwagon Podcast with me, Charlie Cooper. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at the Bandwagon Pod, and follow us on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube Music, and Amazon Music to keep up with future shows.